Hello folks, welcome back to this channel and welcome to today's video. Now we're at Romont on the North Yorkshire Moors Railway. My lord's here. I just thought we'd do an update. The last time you saw it, just the North Yorkshire Moors Railway station was here. Now the Network Rail Romont station's here. You can see the connection, and we have the stop board, so you can't go beyond that point. I've still got to add the junction, the ground frame levers there, and the ones around here for the North Yorkshire Moors Railway. But then the last time you saw it, the track ended just after the tunnel. Well, a lot has changed, because look, the motive power depot is here. Now, this time making the North Yorkshire Moors Railway, I am determined to make it as accurate as I can. So this siding's a lot longer. And on this siding, I'll tell you what's here. A DMU middle coach thing, that's just the coach without the cabs. A very weathered, worn out looking BR maroon teak coach. A BR blue, very heavily weathered teak coach. Some rusty old freight stock. That iron ore wagon's very rusty. And then this little four-wheel coach. So anyway, that's a lot more accurate because before there was just a tiny little bit of straight and that I could literally fit the DMU on. Now behind the main shed there's like a little shed, and that's elevated up, and so is the sidings around it, so that's elevated up, as you can see. I know that the coal stage thing's actually a tower, but then there wasn't one that really suited it. Now the reason why I used this one was because it obviously has the two heights of track, which means that I can basically height this track behind it using it and have that track level. So anyway, also down at the yard, all the tracks basically filled in with like ash and soot and oil and grime. So basically what I'm doing is, and I've used, if you go into objects and then this, I've used the concrete slab called Conc Slab 15 meters. And what I did was I used the custom height thingy down here, and it is set to 0.18 meters. So it's basically these concrete things at 18 centimeters above what they would normally be. Which means that they are spot on level with the track. That's also what I had to do with the level crossing, only I wasn't using the concrete slabbing for that. So you can see it's level with the track. But then because it's level, unfortunately that means, let's get Eisenhower for this. The wheel flanges then go into the concrete, which isn't very accurate. It's bad. You don't really want to grind the wheel flanges off with the concrete ground. So I have had to go and add check rails, which, if I have to be honest, it's a pain in the arse. It takes a long time to do, but it's worth it because that looks accurate now with the rail that you run on and the check rail. In the straight sections, I can add, like for example in the shed, I can add the 32-foot sections, which you can see where it sort of goes inwards at the end. You can see I can add the longer sections, but on the curves, unfortunately, that would mean, if I was to add the longer ones, it would like the sort of dark shadowing in the gap would cut into the rails, and that's not very realistic. So I had to use the 12-foot one. As you can see, you can basically see where each one of them is. And you can see just how many of them there are. Don't know how well you can see on camera, but there's multiple ones. There's one there, one there, one there. And when it sort of straightens out, I can use the slightly longer ones. And then for the points, you can see where the normal point frog is. Don't know if you can tell, but you can sort of see where it is. It's like raised up a bit more. If we go down, you can see. Come on, you can sort of see where the point check rail is, because it sticks up a bit more. So there's the normal point frogs on each side, and then I've just carried on the check rails, so you know you can see the shiny rails where the wheels run on, and then the not so shiny ones are the check rails, like that, which looks quite good. So it's taken me about half an hour to do that and that little bit there, and I've still got to do all them and all of that, and I'm gonna have to extend this all the way down to, I would say, about here, which means it's gonna be about a 2-hour job to put all the check rails in, which doesn't sound too exciting, but then it has to be done in order to make it look a lot more realistic. Cause that looks, just move on a bit here, that looks a lot more realistic than that does. In fact, let's just show you with these Grizzly coaches, because they have quite big wheel flanges. Let's just add 2. You can see without the check rails, I know I'm just waffling on, but anyway, you can see without the check rails it's literally grinding off the wheel flanges, which means that I get shouted at because the coaches then can't be part of the train and they have to have their wheels replaced. But then when they're on the track with the check rails, you can see the wheel flanges sit into the track, well, into the gap, and that looks a lot more realistic. So you'll notice that this line here doesn't join on. That's because there's like that's because they used 3 of those ones, and then there's like a one in the middle where there's no track. What I've got here is a showrunner's truck. So let's say they have, I don't know, the 9F parked in shed number 1. Then let's say they're removing the connecting rods from the wheels. They could, you know, push this in by hand and then lift them off and stick them on here. You know, so they don't have to lift the really heavy connecting rods. Now, for any of you who haven't picked up a connecting rod, which by the way is a solid block of metal, they're very, very heavy indeed. So I know it doesn't happen in real life, but you know, will benefit the team here in Change Driver 2, who may be maintaining the locos. Obviously got the shed which runs up the embankment. This part here I'm going to leave without the level bit, you know, just that all of it isn't just a solid block, you know, there is a little bit of normal track. So I'm going to carry on whilst I talk. So in like the longer sections I can add, for example, the 24-foot one and have that in, can I get a 32 in there before the curve? Yes I can. So basically I can add the longer ones in where there is no curves. But then where the kinda sharp curves are, I've got to add the 12-foot one. Now as we can see, this corner is so sharp that the shadow effect thing, that's where the gap will be, is cutting into the rail. So that's why I have to use the shorter ones. Now when you're like driving on the train, I know you won't really notice the fact that, you know, that running into the rails, but like when you're like around the shed it might be slightly more noticeable, if you know what I mean. So basically I've just got to go through, add them, move them. It takes forever to do, but once you've done it, that looks a lot better than that does already. So yeah, I'm going to remove the wooden boards where the concrete stuff is, because you know I don't really want wooden sections like that. I'll probably leave them in from like here. I'll have to move the concrete section slightly further along though. But yeah. So we also have the diesel fuel point, which is from the South Carlisle route. Now I don't know where the diesel fuel point is on the map in the South Carlisle line, but what I do know is it's being used here as the diesel fuel point. Have made sure that it has got full fuel of 50,000 gallons or litres, I don't know which one it is. And then the water crane here, this is one of the VR ones. So is the cooling stage, and there you go. That's got 91,000 litres of water in. So yeah, that's basically the update on Gromont, well, the North Yorkshire motorway so far. Now from a distance like this, you basically can't even see where the two rails are there, but where the check rails are, you can then see where they are. So yeah, I think it looks good. So anyway, I'll get on with these check rails, whilst you get on with liking the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribing to the channel. So there we go, folks. If that's the update on the North Yorkshire Motor Railway so far. It still only runs to about here though, at the end of the Motive Power Depot head shunt, but it's looking a lot more accurate than North Yorkshire Motor Railway 1.0 in Change Driver 2, and then North Yorkshire Motor Railway 1.1, which is the one before which broke, and then this one, which is North Yorkshire Motor Railway 1.2, looks a lot better than both of them combined. So anyway, I'm going to stop waffling. Thanks for watching. Please leave a like, please consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.